Well, of course, in ancient times.
Oh yeah.
In ancient times, the philosophers
Yeah.
would have discussions
Right.
about their latest ideas,
Uh-huh.
and they would put their points of view forward, and they would discuss at great length the logic, the aesthetics, and the morality of their various perspectives. And at the end of the day, the one who would win the argument is the one with the longest beard. Up until the age of about 28, I'd never encountered hypnosis. I'd never thought of therapy. I was getting by being successful in a city-based job, but doing it on the back of being really quite stressed and quite terrified of failing. And I was pretty good at not failing. And I got to the position where I was earning quite a lot of money, which was great in some ways. But I was spending a lot of time at work, earning a lot of money, feeling really, really dismal. As luck would have it, in the project that I was working on, there were two people who were master practitioners of this thing called NLP. And again, as luck would have it, the boyfriend of one of those practitioners of NLP was a trainer of NLP and, crucially, a therapist. And I was so desperate that I kind of swallowed my pride and opened my wallet and booked some sessions. There was an event that happened at school in front of the whole year, and pretty much literally the whole year and then some beside, which I couldn't think about, which I tried to talk about once and the words wouldn't come out, and which I was kind of completely destroyed the depth of my self-confidence, because there was always this fear that some situation could occur like that again and I would completely fall to pieces. With the timeline therapy, we, in my imagination, went back to that event, and through taking a certain perspective on it, the emotion on that event, as I remembered it, simply fell away. And this was such a massive shift for me that I was actually on a high for a good 2 weeks after that session. Frankly, I thought I was fixed. And I was even going around telling everyone about this event that happened to me, and now I used to be so ashamed of it, and now I can talk about it. I'm not sure they actually really wanted to hear. But it was amazing. And when something as amazing as that happened to me, I was immediately interested in the technology that allowed such a massive, life-changing thing to happen. What I didn't quite know at the time, and what I came to know, was that was the top layer of a many-layered onion, or whatever else has layers. But it was a thick top layer, really thick top layer, a complete convincer for me. The work that I'm doing just now often, not always, involves the relationships between people, the connections between people, and the movement of energy through those connections, which then actually allows connections that were either kind of holding people apart or holding them together to fall away, so there's new freedom in the relationship, freedom to move, if you like, freedom to move closer, freedom to move further away, and there's not the same kind of needy connections between people. And it struck me that that was kind of like pipes stuff moving through pipes. And in my work, ancestrally, working with male and female ancestral lines, that's kind of like the hot and cold um, supply to a pair of taps, which then, when you know how to mix them, you can create any temperature within that temperature range. And so the idea of it being kind of like plumbing seemed to come quite naturally. Psychic means of the mind. It's kind of got that little slightly magical sense to it as well, which though I don't claim to be psychic, I kind of like that edge. It's a bit curious. So psychic plumbing to me works really nicely, and I like the down-to-earthness of the idea of it being plumbing, because actually I don't think this stuff is very complicated. I think it's pretty simple ideas. Like plumbing is pretty simple ideas, and it can take some skill to be a good plumber. And that's what I aspire to be, a good plumber. There's one more element that was the convincer for me on the name psychic plumber, and that was the definition of plumber being one who works with lead. In alchemy, one of the kind of archetypical alchemical objectives is to turn lead into gold, and alchemy arguably is a metaphor for personal change, and so that's turning the lead of ignorance into the gold of enlightenment. When clients ask me, a client will come to me with a pretty open set of objectives. I want to be more self-confident, I want to have more success in my life, I want to have better relationships, as probably all of us want those things. How long will it take, Rich? It will take a lifetime. Because that's what this is, life is a journey that carries on for your whole life. And at particularly gnarly parts of that journey, or at particularly crossroads or whatever, what the features are on that journey at certain times, then maybe it's useful to hire a guide at those particular times on your journey. You don't necessarily need a guide for your whole journey, but at certain times it's going to be useful, and those are the times when between you and the guide you'll, I don't want to say get over blocks, because I'm not entirely sure that's the best way of doing it, because that would then leave the block behind you, but you'll navigate over, through, resolve whatever a certain block is, and then you can continue on your journey. Now, how long you have a guide for depends on how much value for money that guide is for you at that particular point in your journey. If you've got a big block of one kind or another, but relatively little money or relatively little time at that particular time, or maybe seeing me or the guide for 3 sessions, 6 sessions, 10 sessions, maybe that's just enough, and then you're kind of on your journey again. Now, if you've got plenty of time or plenty of money, and you're getting a lot out of the sessions when you're here, then maybe it's really worth having that guide with you for longer at this point in your journey, and then that you can discover even more beautiful things along the way, or interesting things along the way. And so that's when someone says, how long does therapy last for? It's really about, how long is it going to be value for money for you at this particular point in your life? One of the attitudes that people often have is that there's a choice to be made between brief therapy that's superficial and long therapy that's in depth. The approaches, I think, the approaches that I use subject to the teamwork being in place and the person being ready, etc., etc., have the potential to go very deep, really rather quickly. And what's quick? Well, just to be able to go at whatever the speed is that we can go at, without forcing things, without trying to hurry things up. In fact, sometimes when you try to move things too quickly, you actually trigger fear in the client, or resistance, that will prevent you from going as fast as you want. So the thing isn't to have so much of a sense of urgency, but simply to accept things the way they are and to go at the right speed for the person, and then that is as fast as possible. Now, the truth of the matter is I had a lot of problems with getting stuck behind wardrobes.
What?
And now I've got my whiskers, I don't get stuck behind the wardrobe anymore because I can just tell how wide gaps are. There's so much written about love, spirit, God, psychology. It's easy to, kind of understandable to connect to that at a mental construct level, and to think that you understand it, quite literally think you understand it, whereas, and that's fine, that'll get you so far, and you'll probably be able to write pretty good articles with long words in. But it's different from knowing that you understand it. I don't claim to be enlightened by any means. I'm a grumpy bugger a lot of the time. And, especially in the therapy room, sometimes outside, there's a sense of when things are right, and it's not about knowing in the head. It's again, lots is written. It's an allowing. And in the therapy room, I do very little thinking. Questions come to me. Sometimes they don't. I used to get stressed when they didn't. Now it's kind of like, no questions are coming to me right now. Maybe this is a time to kind of take stock of what's going on kind of between us. Yeah, that's all I've got to say. The words stopped coming.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, that's why I laugh. Yeah.
As if to prove the point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I have to say, most of the time the conversations I have with people, because they've read the website, they've got a vibe for me from the website, we're pretty much on the same page, and often it's just like a little kind of meet and greet. Hi, how are you? How do you think I can help is the question that I usually use to kind of put it on them to talk to me. And when they're talking, I'm kind of getting a vibe from them. I'm like, okay, is this cool, or is there something that I need to check out here? Do I reckon that I can probably be a good partner to this person? They're actually antennae.
Oh no! All right, I would ask you a different question.
They help me sense the energy in the room as an antennae, and they're actually trimmed to a precise wavelength of subtle energy.